This is especially true in the modern age. We are often tempted to compare ourselves to those around us because we have access to their lives through the internet. But Pastor Samuel Yaboa once said, every stage of our lives presents a challenge to slow us down spiritually. I can speak from experience. When God says to slow down spiritually, and not just says, but instills it upon your life, so you do slow down, and you slow down spiritually, and things really get settled so that only his priority is so that you focus on him, and that's your priority, is you focus on him. God cares much more about us changing and us being made right in him and about our salvation than for any worldly success that we may be having or any comfort we desire. God will shake things up in our lives if we're truly his and we're meant to be his. And I think of two verses. There's Galatians 4:18 and there's 2 Corinthians 10:12. Galatians 4:18 says, nevertheless, it is good to be zealous if it serves a noble purpose at any time, not only when I am with you. And then 2 Corinthians 10:12 says, not that we dare to classify or compare ourselves with some of those who are commending themselves, but when they measure themselves by one another and compare themselves with one another, they are without understanding. We're to focus on our relationship with God, with what we are doing in union with God and how we are to live our lives in the way God needs us to. Objectively, in what a righteous person does, but also subjectively in how we're to live at this moment in time, in the context we're living, in the environment we're living, and how he needs us to serve others in the place we're in. And so we're to be intentional and thoughtful and caring. When I moved home from Austin, Texas, I needed an adjustment. I'm used to war at all times. I'm used to going constantly. I love war and suffering. I love those things because I love growth. And I know growth brings those experiences, the suffering, the hardship, the high intense moments, things that cause me to excel and rise up, combat whatever is the challenge is demanding or the standard is requiring. But God, every stage of our life, he'll present a challenge to slow us down spiritually because he cares much more about our salvation in our heart and our soul than anything we may want. And so I'll say a couple points here. When these seasons in your life happen, remember to be a student at all times, rejuvenate yourself in God's word. Always, always, always strive to mimic Jesus. What would he do in this moment? Think to yourself, what would Jesus do in this moment, in this season? Goals can be limiting, so set limitless goals. The person you want to be instead of the thing you want. You should rather, I always said this when I was younger, and I'll say it again here, perfect application. Strive to become a championship level player, not just a champion. You don't want to just have the medal and say I was a part of that team. You want to be a championship level player that was able to play in that game, to rise up to that occasion, to win that championship. So think about the person you want to be. Set a limitless goal. And the best aspiration of all is to say you want to be like Jesus. So to the previous point, strive to mimic him. It's the greatest goal you can ever have in life. And then lastly, avoid unhealthy comparison. Do not compare yourself to others, only to yourself and to Jesus. Let's end with a few verses. I know we said Galatians 4:18 and 2 Corinthians 10:12, but let me give you a couple more. Psalms 27:10 says, even if my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will hold me close. Are you willing to forsake all for the sake of Jesus? Luke 9:23, and he said unto all, if any man would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. Luke 14:26 says, if any man cometh unto me and hate not on his own father, mother, wife, children, brother, sister, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. To say we want to follow Christ means commanding and obeying all he says to do, more than everything else. When you want to be with the Lord, it's an all-in mentality. Do you want to go all in for the Lord? Are you willing to drink from the cup that he offers? Galatians 1:10, let's end here. For am I now seeking the favor of men or of God? Or am I striving to please men? If I were still pleasing men, I should not be a servant of Christ.